In events, we start off with all these, these potential ideas, all these ideas and things, and then we present them to the client, and then the client sort of does this little thing, and the client says, well, actually, look, we can't afford that.
Yeah.
I know you had all these lovely ideas, but we need to cut out that whole segment. You go, okay. The client says, you know what? I've decided we want to have the elephant come back into the room. And you go, what? And you still have to be able to make that work. We should always positively challenge what our clients need. We had to look after lots of people every week. Sometimes we had 2 shows on the 2 levels. The structure is important. The safety is number 1. Budget's so important. But I think one of the things that doesn't happen enough is the what else could we do here? I always wanted to do it. It was about doing it. It's actually for me the doing of it.
Yeah. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Elevate with Vic and Juls.
So we've created this podcast to showcase our journey through entrepreneurship, as well as having multiple businesses, 2 kids under 3, and all of the raw stories behind it.
Now that we've done 1 season of just us on the microphone, we've decided to invite some friends to season 2 who are all incredible entrepreneurs, and they will be joining us on the couch to share their journey and their learnings along the way. And we think you're going to love it.
So if you like what you're hearing, make sure that you like us, follow us, as well as share us to your friends and family, so we can continue to grow and do what we do.
Thanks, everyone. Hey, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Elevate with Vic and Juls. And today we have my mentor from way back, Mr. Andrew Gill, who is known as the fabulous host, MC, magician, which I'm sure he'll share about, as well as an incredible event producer in the studio with us. Welcome, Andrew.
Thank you, Julia. Thank you, Vic. I want to say Jul. You want Jules and Vic now.
Yeah,
So
yeah, we
like
cut our
you've
name in
grown up.
half. Yeah.
But what a pleasure, because we've known each other for 20 years probably.
I think so. Yeah, it's been a long time. Andrew's seen me when I was a kid, all the way to now. So yeah, it's such an honor to have you in the studio. And I know we always have these amazing conversations whenever we catch up. So I thought, why not get you in front of the camera?
Let's film it.
Yes, and actually film it and
Get
share
the
it with
lawyers
us.
involved.
It'll be great content.
Yes, you have the best stories. So I can't wait to dive into them.
That's right.
Yep.
Maybe we can't say them here.
Yeah, we'll filter them out.
Well, let's start off on where you started in business and how did it all begin. And I heard that you're a magician. Can you tell us a little bit more
Oh, Vic. Yeah,
where
Vic.
it first started?
My story kind of goes, I love magic. I was a performer. So as a kid, my dad did little bits of magic just because that's something he did when he was a teenager, and it stuck with me. And Mum and Dad, especially Mum, would take me to see lots of different shows. And they weren't all magic shows, but it was a puppet show or a theatre show or a really interesting kind of hippie dragon egg, where is it, in a Carlton loft in the early 70s. And so I think I was really fortunate that we saw lots of different theatre. And then because I was interested in magic, we'd be taken to different shows, whether it was a magician in a shopping centre or something else. So that's sort of how that started, Vic. And I just did it, and I'd be the guy who'd be setting up a little magic show because Mum and Dad had a friend or 2 coming over, and then they'd have to watch a magic show for an hour and a half or 2 hours, and Mum and Dad say that's enough. And so that was it. And then there'd be family friends, and we'd go over to their house and put on a show, and so it just developed. And then I think 2 things happened for me. When I was 12, I got asked to work in a magic shop in Melbourne.
Nice.
And that then gave me a lot of different mentors. So all these very famous magicians would come in. Sam Angelico, who's still going. Doug Tremlett, who was really my mentor when it comes to events, was an incredible magician. Ross Skivington would come in. And, these are people who are having shows in the best cabaret venues in Australia. You'd see them on television. And so I got to see and be with them, I suppose, as the little magician in the shop. I was never little. I was always, probably taller than. My voice was bigger than my age. So that was really exciting for me.
Yeah.
And then I got to see how a magician from the 1940s did stuff, and he was in film, and he made film and cut up film soundtracks and all sorts of stuff. And so you hear all these stories from another era. And then at the same time, I was trying to get regular shows. And in Melbourne, there was a place called the Pancake Parlour. Every Saturday, they would have a kids' party, and I kept ringing. I think I first rang when I was in grade 6.
Wow.
Wow.
And over about 18 months, maybe a bit less, no calls back. And then out of the blue, on a Saturday, this man called Phil rang up and said, "Hello, is this Andrew? You're a magician, and would you like to come in? But how much do you charge?" And I think they had a professional magician, and I was just cheaper.
Yeah.
I was 12, and I said, "Well, I think I said $25 a show or something like that."
Yeah.
He said, "Well, come on in." and so that meant I got to do shows there from when I was in Form 1 or something through to... They stopped in grade when I was in year 12. So that was another big... So I was doing regular shows.
Wow.
And then out of that, some people would ask you to do other shows. So So that's sort of how... I think I was really lucky very early on that I was doing things regularly, and that if nothing else, whether I was good or bad, I was always enthusiastic. But the point was, I was working with people. I was seeing how hospitality worked. It was not high-end hospitality, but we had to look after lots of people every week. Sometimes we had 2 shows on the 2 levels.
Yep.
Market Lane was the home of the Pancake Parlour. So that was really, I was open to all this.
Yeah.
That's really what happened.
Yeah.
And then they wanted to do other things, and I thought we could do comedy and upstairs and did those sorts of things I'd bring people like Rod Quantock, and he would do a show in the Pancake Parlour on a Saturday night as like comedy, comedy spots.
Wow.
So things like that.
Yeah. I love that you were clearly so innately entrepreneurial as a young child.
Very young age.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was funny. I think it's a word now that, I don't really think of myself as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
It's a French word, meaning to entrepreneur.
Yeah.
But entrepreneur, I don't know. But I was, and I wasn't a show off kid.
Yeah.
But I was really focused on. I wanted to do my thing, and Mum and Dad would say, "Well, you should ring up." And I had a paper round. I had a local paper round that I delivered 208 papers.
Yeah.
Every week, as earning $2 something a week. So that, I think the value of a little bit of money was good. And then, of course, I was earning a lot more money than my friends were when I was 12 or 13. But that also meant that I wasn't seeing my friends on a Saturday. I'd see them as I went past the local footy ground. And then I'd come back at the end.
Yeah.
But that was fine.
Yeah.
So I think I always wanted to do it. It was about doing it. It's actually for me the doing of it in some ways.
Yeah.
And I didn't ever think about what would happen. I went off to uni, but then I'll be at the uni at La Trobe, and I'll be in the phone box I had my Vodafone voice recording phone message machine, and I'd listen and there'd be people,
What is that?
I know. It was. I kept banging them off, but it was like a buzzer that you'd have to, bzzz, and that was the code for you to listen back on your messages.
What?
That's what. But that's how I had. I think maybe when I was 17 or 8, I think maybe even when I was 16, I convinced my parents I should have my own phone line. Yeah. So in my room, I ended up having 2 phone lines in my bedroom.
Yeah. So wow.
I had a. Is that a lie? 985 7195. Maybe no. So it's a lie. It's a second phone line, and that was then I got a fax machine. Yeah. And that was a big fax machine. There was no computers, so I had a fax machine. Yeah. And I typed stuff up on an old typewriter that was my dad's, and that was the fax. Yeah. And so I had a fax machine that was a phone, so I could make my own calls. Yep. Do all that stuff at home, and so that became more and more. I was I was doing more than just kids' parties. I was doing, what was I doing? I was doing roving magic around at parties and hotels. Yep. And so in hotels, you would then see a different kind of event, but you'd still apply your same understanding. Customer first. What do they need? Customers always. I think maybe we get to it. Clients often have different ideas about what they should do versus what we instinctively know they should do. Yes. So sometimes you'd be doing a party for 50 people and there were 2 magicians there.
Yeah.
Well, why would you have 2 magicians?
Yeah.
Why would you have a magician and a juggler or a magician and a singer? What? There's 50 people. You know those things. That,
Yeah, yeah.
You know, how do you unlock all that stuff?
Yeah.
So probably very early on, I was being asked to provide other performers.
Yeah, right.
And then that was the big thing for me. There were all these amazing performers who'd been overseas, people like Chris Gregory, Christoph, Neil Thomas, and they were kind of different. So Christoph was an amazing street performer. He was probably the best, probably the top 3 in the world, honestly.
Wow.
And Neil Thomas was a very quirky, laconic mime performer who had some really interesting ideas. And so out of all that, I started doing things with these. I'd be going to warehouses in West Melbourne on Sunday nights and seeing people doing mime dance shows that I wasn't used to. I was used to pretty much traditional theatre, television shows, and that then was another world. So these people doing really different things, and they were doing art and music, and it was a bit confronting. But then I started using those people and working with those people.
Yep.
And that was another big thing for me. So I was always in the room around performers and seeing what they did. And, you know, back then, boy, you know, Christoph or Neil Thomas, they could gather a crowd of 1,500 people. I couldn't do that. I was used to getting all the kids out on the ground and doing a fun show, but to make an audience was something that was really was out. I still couldn't really do that. I could do it differently now, but I would just do it with my voice. But, so anyway, you talk about mentors, Julia. I was very lucky, and those things lead to other things. You know, Neil. I did lots of stuff with him, and then I also really was producing some of what he was doing. And then he did this show in the My Windows in the 90s, which was called the Urban Dream Capsule. So they had 5 bald guys living in the My Windows for 18 days as part of the Melbourne Festival.
I remember you sharing this story.
I mean, we're jumping, but I don't know how old I was. But at that stage I was producing it. So I was producing at Southgate. So I was producing all of Southgate's entertainment for a number of years. I was relatively, I was 24, 25, something. And then there was this Maya stuff happening, and I was doing stuff for Maya anyway. They got me in as a MC for some work. And so we had to negotiate this contract that was nowadays probably wouldn't have been allowed to happen. But we were negotiating with how we could have people working on display for 18 days.
Wow.
And they lived in the windows.
Oh my God.
That's crazy.
And so again, you were suddenly interfacing with the head of, legal at the Melbourne Festival and dealing with. So you're in meetings, and you're really saying, "Well, I think this should happen."
Yeah.
And there are other. I'm thinking about that. I did a lot of stuff with magic. So Tim Ellis, who still does the Melbourne Magic Festival. So Tim and I did lots of stuff. So I really produced that with him.
Yeah.
And you convince someone that we can have him jump off for Magic Week, and with the Art Centre, he's going to jump. He's going to be in a box. He's going to be locked up in the box, go into the Yarra, and he's going to escape.
Oh my God.
I know there was a way that was going to happen.
Yep.
But I'm there going, oh, it's going to happen, and this is going to be done. And I'm thinking, if something goes wrong at this moment, they're going to be talking to me.
Yeah.
He was safe. He survived.
He's still alive.
So these really kind of, how do you, and what we do now, how do you navigate all those possibilities or work with artists or organisations? And there was a lot of, there were lots of that sort of work.
Yeah.
And it was kind of a bit freer.
Yeah.
But
less red tape compared to now.
But it was always about safety, so I still had to get a permit from not WorkSafe didn't exist, but there was another organisation that looked after the crane. So I had to talk to a man who I talked to a number of times about how we would do this, and then I had to write a little note about what we'd do, and then he would approve it. And then we had a little note from him saying this is authorised. Yeah. So we didn't do a risk assessment in the same way, but he wanted to make sure the crane was safe.
Yep.
On somewhere on Swanston Street, somewhere next to the Art Centre. We had a giant crane lifting someone up.
And is wild.
And but so all those things.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, and you don't realise you're gathering this If I touch the microphone one more time, I'll have to pay a bill to all the crew. I'm sorry, crew. I keep banging on the mic. Don't use your hands when you talk, but I do. Look at you both professionally, just there, just going.
No, we are so intrigued and locked into your stories. I mean, clearly you started off as a magician with the lens of, being a young performer. Whether you like the word entrepreneurial or not, you were innately that, yes. And then so when did it, I guess my question would be, did the producer pathway come before the MC and hosting, or did they kind of come hand in hand?
Well, I think what happened was I was lucky, and I had some ability. And there was an organisation called FEEP, which is Free Entertainment in Public Places. And as a little kid, I'd gone along to... It was a unique program in Australia at the time. There was a man called Bob Crawford, and his nickname was Bob King Crawford. And for the city of Melbourne, he put on shows and he put on events and he put on... If it was Australia Day, sadly back then they'd have recreations of the redcoats coming ashore and firing cannons, and I remember seeing those when I was a young kid. So those things, but the point, he would stage these events, and there would be a large sort of truck stage thing, and it would be in the Fitzroy Gardens, and my mum and dad were very good at, we didn't have a lot of money, so we'd go to see lots of free entertainment, and you'd see the dancers, or you'd see a performer, or you'd see someone doing a traditional dance. It was really an innovative program. And so suddenly at 20 or 19, I was being asked to be as part of this. And hear all these little sliding door moments, because the first gig I got to do, I was 19. I was in my father's dinner jacket, because that's what they wanted. And I was with another performer, a magician called Ross Pryor, and we had a tandem bike, and our job was to ride along the Yarra at Christmas time and entertain the people at barbecues. So those barbecues are still there today. Yeah. And so we rode along, and we'd stop and say, would you like to see some magic? And there was a wonderful woman from FEEP called Liz Talbot, who I still know now. And Liz was our minder, and we go along. And this is when people were really, by lunchtime at Christmas time, they were very jovial. but that was, and so, I go home after day when I've got my dad's shoes on, his beautiful dancing shoes how he met my mother, leather based, and I've ripped all the leather to shreds because I'm on a bike. And I didn't know what to tell Dad, and Dad said, well, it's okay because I don't wear them anymore, I gave them to you. So those things like that, and Liz was a really formative part of Handspan. So suddenly you have these connections where you suddenly realise that, I've seen Liz Talbot as a puppeteer in Handspan shows. So that I think the entrepreneur part, it was always, I don't think I was thought like that. So what happened? Magician, then fantastic entertainment in public places, a bloke called Ray Thompson. He would have these interesting performers, and he needed someone to host them. And so so I'd be there all day, and these performers would come in from other shows and go away, but I was there for the whole afternoon. So that was kind of my change in hosting, legitimately hosting, and that then led to Moomba. So I'd host Moomba and I'd host other things. Relatively young, really, but that's what happens. And it was busy. And then people would ask me to, and I'd suggest, if you're going to have me, why don't you have this bloke? Because Neil Thomas does a funny thing with a puppet, and it's really funny, and he's really good. Or get the juggler who's really funny, or a beautiful Maddie Pickett who was on stilts, or Friends of Moira, they were two wonderful women who were just fantastic performers, who remarkably I first met being a judge of the FEEP summer concert stage and I'm going, this guy's, he's 22 or 23 and he's one of the judges. And in come these amazing women who just could play accordion, play ukulele, were hilariously funny. They've been performing for 15, 20 years, you know. But so that's the vibe, the scene. The scene was vibrant. And that's what happened. And so, so it was, magician, becoming an MC, and because of that, and then because of working with people, I would then really curate shows. I didn't really ever get paid as a producer. I was getting, I've seen contracts where I was getting paid $300 to organise 2 weeks of activities in shopping centres.
Yeah.
And the budget was $10,000.
Yeah.
I was in it as well. But you're
Yep.
going, well, that's not good business. That's not entrepreneurship.
Yeah,
But
don't
I
do
was,
that part.
but I would get people, I would get all the, and I'd make it as best as I could for whatever the budget was.
Yeah, I love that.
And self-manage, be on site.
Yeah.
Because I was doing it.
Yeah.
That's
Alright.
a weakness and a strength.
Yeah.
I mean, then fast forwarding to, going forward into the future is how did you then start scaling, getting other people involved in business and leading a team back then, and how did that all work?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, Victor, I probably should have talked to both of you about that. I really should have. The models I had was Doug Tremlett at the event company, and they'd just done Expo 88, and they had this company with 3 corporate creative heads, and they were doing big things. And so that was my best example. And there was also Peter Jones. I did lots of work with Peter Jones Special Events. He asked me to really do lots of things with him too. So I was fortunate. I got to see how different people did their things. And Peter Jones really, in Melbourne, was the public face of events in Melbourne. And we were doing lots of things with him, amazing things with him.
Yeah.
And then, at the next level, that's all the big corporate things. Doug was doing things, and I'd be asked to come and help with the BMW launch. So my scale, Victor, really happened like this, and someone we all know. I was doing a lot of work with Variety Club, and I was on the board of Variety again. I thought I was going into that because I'd meet famous people and get jobs at Channel 9. That wasn't really what happened, but I learnt lots again. And there was someone who worked at Variety called Real Dorrington, and she rang me up one day. I was outside the town hall. I'd come from a meeting at the town hall.
Yeah.
And she rang up and said, "Guess what? I've just resigned from Variety." I said, "Well, I think would you want to work with me?"
Yeah.
So there was no plan. So I remember telling my father and my mother. My father saying, "Well, Andrew, have you done a budget for this?" Or, "No, Dad, but I'm really busy," because in those days I was really busy. So I'd be working from 9 till 10 most days. And because there's no mobile, most performers didn't have mobile phones, so I'd have to ring them up after hours to see if they were available for the. And it was a weird role really, because I was Mr. Happy, then I was working in my office, and every night till 10 or so, and then I'd be writing up what it was. I did have a computer by then. Then I'd fax off that quote to Myer or Southgate or whatever. So it was always I needed some resource.
Yeah.
And that
Where
was
Real came in.
1994. The first I had an employee.
Yeah.
And then she came on board, and that changed things. And again, when people just give you advice.
Yeah.
And they say things like, so back then I would work about 3 months for free on the Variety Club Christmas party, which was for 5,000 kids at the Royal Exhibition Building. And I saw it. I didn't think it was done the right way. Yeah. I challenged the organisation. The guy who ran it rang me up and said, "Well, do you think you could do it any better?" I said, "I think I can." He said, "Well, come and work with us." And it was for free. It was but I got to meet all these people. The famous, Wilbur Wilde would come in. Daryl Summers, the biggest star in Australian television, he would come in. All these people would come in to be there. Maxie Walker, all these people, the biggest names. The Premier. Wow, I'm dealing with the protocols of a Premier, just walking in their jumper. Yeah. Or, Mrs. Kerner coming in, just come, hello, and come up on stage and say hello to the kids. So that kind of just rolled out.
Yeah.
So
I think the one thing I always loved about you, Andrew, and I think when we met when I was a little kid, or young version, was that you don't gatekeep information. You've always been very open and willing to teach and mentor and open doors, provide guidance. And we've obviously worked together and collaborated on plenty of conferences and projects. But I always love your high energy like, hyper focused in the outcome for the client or outcome for the project. And I remember time and time again, whenever we're on conferences, whether it be budget cuts or venues being, trying to shortcut something, you're always going to be like, nope, this is exactly what we need. And you'd push back on it. How do you maintain that high energy in what is a very stressful industry that we're in for years and years? Obviously you started even much younger than I am, like as a kid being a magician, and then now, you've built your successful business, but like, how do you maintain that level of positive energy all the time?
The honest part is you have to love it.
Yeah.
And it's easy to say you have to have a passion. And we've all been, it's now 5 years since COVID started. What I've seen, and I've talked a lot about this, post-COVID, and I'm going to use AV companies as a little example before we come back to your question. Probably before COVID, there were some people who'd been there too long, working long hours. It's a hard gig.
Yeah.
You turning up the next day, you don't really know what the client's got for you. There should have been 3 of you or 4 of you, there's 1 of you. Everyone's saying, change this is not working. We need 5 mics. And there's one, we talk about the octopus at the back of the room.
Yeah.
Post-COVID, I think we found really young, incredibly focused, probably not, whether they're more technical, but they're focused and they want to deliver really well. And I think that part of it is about the passion. And I don't think I'll ever not be in events because I love that part. I love being there and I love getting that result. Truly sitting there with Excel spreadsheets is not my favourite thing, but it's a necessary thing.
Yeah.
Risk assessments, it's a necessary thing. So I think it's about the joy for me if someone still wants you to do something, I love that. And I think the thing for me, honestly, it's about the idea.
Yeah.
It's actually about the client saying, you could say every conference is the same. It's got the same logistical components. People have to arrive, there's name tags, there's accommodation, there's travel. You know this even more than me now. But at the point of it, there has to be that moment where things happen. So it's a bit like if you're a little person and you open up the bubble. So there's a little bottle. It's boring. It's got a lid. Once you take that lid off and you bring it out, there's a few funny drips of the soapy water. Then you blow the bubbles, and then it's special.
Yeah.
So to me, I honestly try every time, no matter how business focused it is, what are those moments?
Yeah.
Yep.
That's, to me, I think that's, and the possibility.
Yeah.
And, whether it's, and I think the other thing, it's really important, it's always about what does the client require? What are their messages? And then that's, you have to define that. Because I might say, look, I really want to do this amazing Japanese drum thing, because it's not going to be appropriate for a business conference, but it might be. But the point is, when you come in with an idea, you have to come. What are you trying to do?
Yeah.
How, and that's the passion, that the energy. And I'm fueled by that.
Yeah.
I'm fueled by. I did a little event last week in Newcastle for a client I do a lot of work for, and it's the first I've been away. I've been overseas for 5 or 6 weeks, so I haven't actually done an event. I've been planning, but I haven't done one, and it was fabulous. But you even then, 6 weeks, you sort of forget about that value that you get. And yes, when I got home to the hotel in Newcastle, I was a bit stiff, and I woke up the next morning. But that's the story.
Yeah.
But you don't ever want to say that.
Yeah.
And I was lucky. I was then going to see some venues for another conference that I was doing in Newcastle, and so the joy of being in a room and honestly applying the same weird skills that I've learned as a magician. So when I was doing close-up magic, you had to connect with a couple of people. So when the travel agents come in, you're still happy and fun, and then you find a funny story, or what about this, or oh, you're on 100 Street, oh, it's on 100. Whatever those bits are, that means nothing what I just said, by the way, so please just get what who was he talking to? What voice was that? But I think the passion, that's the passion. And let's call it show business, it's a business.
Yeah.
But you have to surprise, delight, and in events we always have. We don't like surprise in events, do we?
Can be surprised for the client.
But planned.
surprise.
Victor, see, planned
Yeah.
surprises. And I think sometimes, there's some classic examples I could talk about where things, clients decided at the last minute not to do something, and you said you can't go back now. You have to go. And there's, those things still come up now and again with clients who, the client who's very concerned. They want it to be great, but we don't think we should do that now.
Yeah.
Well,
I remember the amount of confetti cannons and whatnot and stage things. Andrew, you're like the prop king.
We've got confetti.
how about that?
You are the
Yes,
king.
because I've done so many conferences and stage things with you where there'll be like cannons all the time and various props.
Well, I reckon that comes from my magic world.
Yeah.
And there's a beautiful piece of magic where you tear up tissue paper
Yeah.
and you put it in water and you squeeze out the water and then you fan it with a fan and it becomes snow.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
I don't think I've ever done that
Yeah.
on a stage.
Yeah.
But whenever I see it, I love it.
Yeah.
And, sometimes those machines, sometimes in the early days when we'd say doing snow machines, they were so noisy, it sounded like a plane was about to crash through the building.
Yeah.
But now, the magic, then you have to be careful that, I don't want people to slip over on that confetti.
Yeah.
I love that moment,
Yeah.
but how are we going to make sure that's safe?
Yeah.
But so,
Yes.
but that's a surprise and delight moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But how do you remain, I guess, creative in all these years? I get the passion and I definitely see that, but how do you remain, I guess, relevant and creative in your thought process and the design that you are bringing to the table for your clients?
I think the possibility thing is always the thing that I'm always thinking about. And you might write down 5 ideas that 4 of them aren't going to wash for various reasons, whether it's budget, time, room, whatever. But I'm always thinking about what little thing, and it could be often little things, how can we do those little bits? So I think, Julie, it's just, I think it's one of those things where it's a bit like if you're a mercurial football player, if you're Lionel Messi, he just has certain things he can do and he just does it and he keeps doing it. But he also trains. He trains really hard. We probably, I don't think we probably train as hard as maybe Olympic swimmers do. We're often busy doing. But to me, it's about, and I actually think the question you've asked is actually one of my passions about, if I was to go in to teach in event, school, college, whatever,
Yep.
the structure is important. The safety is number one. Budget's so important. But I think one of the things that doesn't happen enough is what else could we do here?
Exactly. Yeah.
That's to me, and I know, sometimes you've seen that with me. What else can we do here? Or, okay, well, those people are going to walk on, well, these people can run on, or these people can skip on, whatever that, how can you keep building up? And I think that comes back to magic, because in magic, there's a moment where something happens and there's something that changes. And so I really believe that it's also, having been around for a while, there's certain things we could do. So let's say we can't make the CEO appear on stage. We don't have the budget for that, but we can make the lights flash, or we could give them a rock and roll entry, or but as long as they're happy with it, are they comfortable with it?
Yeah.
We can do that.
Yeah.
Or, I had an example in fact, it was last week at the event. A new person to the business, wonderful person, highly experienced, but we actually had boom mics on the lectern because it's a venue that didn't have a proper lectern. And this person was very keen not to have a mic here. And this person said, well, I think I'll just use my voice. And I sort of said, well, you need a mic. So often what happens is our creativity is just in that moment of saying, what I did was I said, are you right-handed or left-handed? And because she was right-handed, I moved this whole contraption over to here. So that would be a little bit more out of her usual remit. That's all I could do, unless she wanted to hold the mic, which she didn't want to do.
Yeah.
These are the things, that's problem solving, but it was a creative way of saying, we have to have a mic.
Yeah.
Usually it's a bloke and they say, oh, look, I've got a big voice. And you say, I've got a big voice, I'm using the mic.
Yeah.
That's a little moment.
Yeah.
How do you translate? So then how do we do the fun? And I think, the passion, energy, it's, one thing my learning in the last 12 months is, or maybe over the last 15 years, I would never eat. This is a weird practical thing. I would not eat till after the gig.
Yeah, I know that from many times on site.
Right?
But you'd have a Coke.
Coca-Cola. That's right.
Coca-Cola.
But now I will have a good breakfast.
Yeah.
I'll have good, and I'll make sure the crew has, food is power. Really, it is not knowledge. Food is power. And we still might have to work longer hours, but if you don't have good food, and you always get those moments where you're talking to some crew and they say, oh, we don't usually get dinner, and you go, what do you mean? Oh, well, that's not part of the. You go, well, we're going to have to. I've had that with last year in Melbourne being there, so we don't usually give the crew food. I said, well, we need to give. I said, I'm happy to pay for the crew. I was just the MC. I wasn't the producer.
Yeah.
If it was a producer, I would have made sure there were crew meals. But those weird things. That's energy. That's a true energy. If you don't have good food, you don't have energy.
Yeah.
And look, working with great people.
Yeah.
Being able to select a person. Or telling a client, we're not having that person. That person is really hard work. Yeah. I know they're famous, but we're not having that person. They are very difficult to work with.
Yeah.
So we're going to lose energy. And when we're in events, we are streaming ahead. Are we going to get all these bits in the shoot?
Yeah.
Are we going to get it? It's hard. And then there's a change. In fact, can I show you something bizarre? I've got an example.
I'm intrigued.
Love it.
So I'm not into the. I'm not into. That's really weird. This is I'm not into the races.
Okay.
But this is a weird example, so I'm just going to cut up some form guide. And they're racing at Randwick. In fact, that was such a bad cut.
For those listening on the audio, Andrew's just cutting newsletters up.
We've called in, this is called Foley. This is called live Foley. Right, so I reckon this is a fun example.
Okay.
Of explaining what happens. So if you're listening to this, I have a pair of scissors in my right hand. Yep. And I have a little piece of paper. So in events, we start off with all these, these potential ideas, all these ideas and things, and then we present them to the client, and then the client sort of does this little thing, and the client says, well, actually, look, we can't afford that.
Yes.
Right? But we still need to be able to do the event. And then they say, look, we've had another other idea. I know you had all these lovely ideas, but we need to cut out that whole segment. You go, okay, all right. But they still rely upon us. Let's see if this works. Hope it does. Oh, my goodness.
Hey!
And then on the day, the client says, you know what? I've decided we want to have the elephant come back into the room. And you go, what? And you still have to be able to make that work, right?
Stop.
So that's the point with us. Lots of ideas, lots of insights.
Yeah.
We always have to make it work.
Wow.
How about that?
Wow.
And they're racing at Randwick. There's a photo finish.
I gotta say, whoever's listening on audio need to just watch our YouTube to see that.
Get on board.
Bit of magic happening.
Have we got to 20 minutes yet? But that thing. So I think about that a lot.
Yeah.
And so my view is it's a challenge. So this is what my client wants to do.
Yeah.
As we know, clients have the best ideas. So if they say we want to use this person, that saves a whole lot of time for us.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. But often they might want to have that person at the wrong time.
Yeah.
Years ago, I did this thing with ICI. That was how long ago it was. And they had 3 speakers in one day. And I was just the MC. And I just didn't think it was right. And I talked to a guy called Peter Rossetti, who was a co-owner of ICMI at the time, a Speakers Bureau in Melbourne. And I asked him, would you be prepared to come in and talk? Because I didn't know how to do it then. come in and talk to the client, and we rearranged. The keynote should have been after lunch. The after lunch should have been the keynote. The other person should have done a workshop. That kind of thing. So I think we should always positively challenge what our clients need.
I love that. Yep.
And in my time, often conferences went for 4 days or 5 days. Then they went to 3 days. Then they went for 2 days. Now they go for a day because people don't have the time. People don't have the time to plan what they're going to say. We'd sit there in rehearsals for certain clients, and we'd be 2 full weeks out doing a full rehearsal day where the senior team would be assessing. We make sure that everybody's speaking in the same way. Now people kind of rock up on the day just thinking they're going to do it.
Yep.
So again, how can we mitigate that for our client? We can still ask all those questions. We can still talk about, well, I think that speaker 3 from your organisation is talking about that. So let's, that's, I think that the positively challenging, because we want a great outcome. And I reckon the other thing that happens a lot is people say, we've only got a day. We're going to do health and safety. We're going to do the new implementation system.
Yes.
We want to talk about the new way that we approach each other at work. And you go, well, and what else are you going to say? Oh, that's in the first hour. Oh my goodness, we need everything to breathe. So creativity and breathing gives energy.
Yeah, I love that. You go, Vic.
I mean, over the years, Andrew, one of the things that I've noticed was that you build really good relationships with people, with your team, with the people that, years and years
clients.
and years of relationships with your clients, with your suppliers, with your contractors, with everyone that you work with. How did you manage to create these really good relationships with people for the longevity of the relationship as well? And you seem to have a really high care factor for people in general. How did it all come about into the way you are, and how this relationship is so important to you?
Well, it's big. That's very kind, Vic. Look, for me, when you work with people, you instantly know what they're like. And this is a really weird example. I was walking with a client down past Crown 2 weeks ago, and there on the, past where the restaurant starts, just past Queensbridge Street, if you're in Melbourne, it's where the big Crown casino is. There was a giant red truck with black writing, had Showtech written on the side. So I knew that Showtech was somewhere in Crown. Walking a bit further along, there were 3 riggers, all in Showtech gear, the same logo that Tiny and Robin have had since the 1980s. It was square, it looks like gaffer tapes made the logo. Look up Showtech, they're the best rigging company in the world. And I said to my client, oh, wow, that's great. They're a great company. Can you take a photo of just the truck? And then because we were talking, we kept going. And then Brendan was there. The 2 other young riggers I didn't know, but Brendan I've known for 30 years. And Showtech I've known since the 80s. And that's a really good example, probably. I don't get to use Showtech very much now. But whenever I hang someone in the air, or, I did a lot of work with Circus Oz, I'd always say, wherever we were, I want Showtech. We'd fly Showtech. We had a string quartet that we'd fly. It was called the Floating Strings. Original, how about that? Created for an Australian Business Theatre job that became this. That was sort of, I should have been more entrepreneurial with that, but we'd fly these people all around the world.
Yeah, wow.
We always have Showtech involved. Now, I think when we got to Singapore, we didn't have Showtech, but they had done the plans, the plot, the safety checkout. They talked to the rigging company. They told me that rigging company was a great company. They'd work with things. But so that's a really strong example. I love Tiny. I love Robin. I love what they stand for. This is a bloke who's taught the Olympics so much, how to fly in the Greek Olympics, all the columns flying around in the air, or in the Commonwealth Games, flying the tram. That was Tiny Good. He made that happen.
Wow.
He made it happen safely and amazingly.
Yeah.
And so I think over time we all have connections. And if you know someone well and you talk, and there's lots of classic examples where I remember in the good old days, I didn't know about AV costs. And I was doing something for Australia Post, and Shane Somerville and a few other people who are now, and Peter Kalivas, who are really big in AV even then they were. This is when it was staging connections. The client rings up and says, "What do you mean? We've got 4 radio mics and it's going to cost us $600. I'm going, $600? That's how much I charge for 3 gigs. So I ring up this. I don't know who this guy is.
Yeah.
I'm going, can you explain what this is? And of course, Shane was really lovely about it because that's what the cost was. He did a deal, and I came back at $450, and the client made a joke and all that stuff. But that was in 1994. But I wasn't nasty about it, but I was asking a really clear question. And so, I'm pretty clear. If I don't think things are fair, I'll talk to the venue and I'll say this. You have to do that. I reckon my biggest learning ever for that was, I had a mental blank now. We'll go on. Who was the very famous choreographer who choreographed all of the Channel 9 shows? Can't remember. Yeah. So look, I'll stop on that. Sorry, but in terms of, you have to respect people, Vic, and you have to understand where they're at. And I reckon the idea of the AV guys at the back of the room are important, because sometimes they've just got so much on. So how can you? We've got a lot of things to get to today, and we know sometimes that someone's not going to pull their weight. You then have to you really have to say, well, that person's not going to happen.
Yeah.
We talk to the other team, so we've got a problem. Can we deal with it? Is it dangerous? We just have to go around that. So I think that idea of just, I reckon maybe it's just from my mum and dad. Mum still is very lovely to people, and my dad was a bit more reserved, but always very lovely. And that's how you learn. But you have to talk, but you have to find out how do they have capability? And sometimes I might be going, well, I don't do it like this. My favourite story, and before you came into the room, I was talking to Fred Crow, who's an amazing production manager. We love him. He's a clever photographer.
Yeah.
I've worked with him. I met him. Here's an example, Vic. So I was doing a job for Peter Jones, and this guy came in as a part of the bump out crew. It's midnight somewhere in Melbourne in a venue, and he just was different to the other bump out. He was interested. He asked what had happened. How did you go? And from then on, we had Fred do all our jobs. He wasn't looking for the work, by the way, but we just had a connection. And so Fred, I've known for 30 years. So if I can, I'll have him there, because if I know him, the shorthand is I know that it will happen.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing that's really important. If you trust, and over time, some people can't do the job anymore, so you don't use them anymore. But that's the secret, I think, of actually them understanding you understanding them, and then you can tell the client why we need this person. Because a client why do we have to have 5 people? Why do we need stage managers? Why do we need whatever? Why do we need a set dresser? Why do we need hair and makeup? Why do we need a guy to make sure he doesn't touch the microphone with his chin all the time? That's the stuff. And that's what actually connections create. And you don't know until after, Vic. You don't realise until you've known that person for 5 years or 10 years, or the client rings you up after 14 years, you haven't seen them, but they ask you, are you still doing that thing? And you say you are. That's happened to me. I'm up to 20 years between a client, because the other thing too, I think, in our world is often the client doesn't need us, which is tough. We want, did you love it? Oh, it was the best ever. But next week they don't need us. That's tough.
Yes.
It's like actors. Actors do a great job, and then there's no work for a little while, and it comes up. I mean, in your case, you've got a team. You need to keep working this team. And that is a different set of skills, which, I had 4 or 5 people in my biggest group. But so I think that idea of connection is so important, and it's being authentic, but it's asking questions. And I just did an event earlier this year, and the venue was amazing. And after day 2, I said, "You are giving so much food. We don't need this much food." They weren't even trying to over deliver, but it was just so much food. I said, and it took another day. They still didn't know what to do, because they wanted to really look after us. But it was making the client feel unhappy, a bit awkward, because there was so much being left over. So finally, for the gala, we sort of,
calm down.
But that's again that reverse thing. Sometimes you have to say, "This is great." Just calm it. Or other, I mean, another bizarre example earlier this year. This is a classic example. Just before doors, so it's 5 or 6 o'clock. It's a small show. There's just me and our TD, Graham Cunningham. So it's busy. And in comes the florist who I'd booked, or the deliverer of the florist. And the florist says, blah, 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 where do you want the flowers? Do you want them on the table? I said, look, if you're happy, if you can set them up right now. Okay, no worries. And then I said, so can you tell me about the vases? In that moment, I just couldn't remember whether the vases, we were keeping the vases or not. The words this person said was, so you're asking me to ring up to find out about the vases? I said, I was with my client who looked at me. It was such a, I wasn't nasty. I just said, it was a very simple question. I said, look, if you could, just find, because I can't remember whether we get to keep the vases or not, which we, by the way, we could. That person kind of stormed out of the room.
Wow.
And in that moment, did I have two heads? No, it was a very simple question. Did I have time to follow through? I thought, no, bad luck. I look back on my paperwork when I had a little bit of time and it was all fine. But that, and you're going, we're in a very groovy, we're in, a very groovy, very relaxed part of Australia. What was that about? Like, where did that come from? Right? So, but we just have to go forward on that. Because it didn't matter.
Yep.
But it was such a weird response.
Yeah. I think over time we've had plenty of those instances too where you're just like, oh, you know what? You're clearly not made for this industry.
I rang up the florist and gave the feedback, and
Fair
they
enough.
were apologetic, but they didn't follow it up.
Yeah.
I don't know who that person was. I mean, it was their person.
Yeah, 100%. But I do think that, I guess, backing off Victor's question and your response, I think every person that I have worked with in the team, the Andrew Gill team, would always say that you treat people with a lot of kindness and care.
Well.
And I think that definitely quite often gets forgotten in a fast-paced environment because we're all, super busy and we're trying to, get the job done for the client and all that. But you always treat people with a lot of respect, kindness and care. And I vividly remember, I think it must have been Graham who says, I've worked for plenty of people, and Andrew by far is the best. And I think that's definitely the reputation you've built for yourself over the past 30 years in the industry.
But, there are lots of good people, but maybe that's very kind. But you need to, how would you like to be treated? And by the way, I can say, by the way, this is, I've remembered the story now, by the way, about this is a lesson I learned.
Yeah.
2 lessons. I was doing a thing in 1992 up in Sydney, and we had Dr. Julius Irving, Dr. J, was in the house, and I was a basketball mascot. And Tony Bartuccio was at the time probably the most preeminent choreographer in Australia. And we go in and we're on a basketball court. It no longer exists now. It's actually where the whole Olympic stadiums are now. And we're there and we're waiting. The rehearsal's delayed an hour or 2 hours. We get on, ready to go. And Tony Bartuccio says, hello, everyone. I'm Tony Bartuccio. I'm the director of this opening. It was for NBA Hoop Fest. It's the only time I've worked for the NBA. He said, just want to say before we start, this is appalling, this delay. I've had 20 dancers here and performers, and we've got dignitaries from around the world. It's outrageous. I don't want anything more to happen. Let's go on with the show. Thank you. So he told them, he is telling them that was not acceptable. He's telling his client, he knows, it wasn't anything to do with him. That was a really classic example of that. My view probably to this day is I might not have done it that way. I might have gone upstairs and said, let me tell you that what happened before, not good. Let's make sure that, are we okay to go? I maybe would have eyeballed them, but he let everybody understand that shouldn't have happened. And that was a really, I was standing in the black. There was no lights, and we had the most famous basketball I've ever met in my life. Just here, we're having small talk, this giant guy and me just talking about just kicking around. Well, there's nothing to kick around on the basketball. We didn't even have a ball, So that stuff you do need to call. You need to call it out at the right time. Yeah. And sometimes you need to make a public moment. But but you just need to. Hopefully you respect people and say, look, why did that happen?
Yeah.
Well, you told me that wouldn't happen. It's happened again.
Yep. Yep.
You know, and I think what happens in organisations, maybe even in government too now, because this is what the bureaucracy says, this is how it should go. And you say, but that hasn't happened, so we have to do this.
Yeah.
How do you know, what are we going to do?
Yep. Absolutely.
You know, like okay, so yes, that's correct, but we now find ourselves here.
Yeah.
How are we going to get out of this at this moment? What if that? I know we can't get the car on the, but the thing's bogged.
Yeah.
So what's going to happen here? What are you going to do? You know those moments.
Yeah.
But we need to. You know, what are we going to do?
Absolutely. Andrew, just to take, I guess, a slight pivot from producer lens to host.
Yes.
Obviously, again, innately, as a young child, you always had the performer side in you, and then you moved into emceeing, hosting events, and so forth. What kind of advice would you give people who are perhaps starting out or needing to get on stage and do a presentation of some kind, whether it's for themselves, for their company, and so forth? What are some like hot tips that you can share?
Hot tips.
Yeah.
So you're wanting short answers.
Yes.
It's a passion for me.
Yeah.
And for me, the first thing is you have to prepare.
Yeah.
You have to work out what you are going to do. The further away from when you're going to do it, the better. So whether it's 10 days, 10 hours, 10 minutes, 10 hours or 10 days is much better, because then you think about what you're going to say and you distill it and you review it and you talk it and you do it. That's number one. Number two is understand who your audience is, and then how you spend time with that audience is very important. But then own the room. One of my sayings is own the room. And by doing that, own the room, get in there. Now, I didn't come in here. I happened to get here before you. I actually thought we were going to do you were going to be doing a cycle of different people today, and I was going to be number 2 or number 3 off the rack. They've told me I'm the only one. But own the space. So if you can, get in there. You know this. Get on the stage. Make sure the mic's on. Or it's too loud. That's okay. Do that without anybody in the room.
Yeah.
And the next thing this happened, someone gets to stage and they say, it's pretty bright up here.
Yes.
That's because they haven't come to stage. And then you have that argument about, I want to turn it down. Sometimes what we do, we turn the lights up in the audience because we say we need people to see you. So those are very simple steps, and we all innately are putting off doing it. We are putting off doing that presentation, doing, for me it's doing the Excel spreadsheet. But you have to grip it and you have to say, what do I need to do? Because if you don't come prepared, then you aren't in the zone. To me, they're the fundamentals. The other thing I think it was something that came around, I saw last week on LinkedIn actually, about what you shouldn't do when you're performing or when you're presenting. And you've seen this both, I suppose, and Julia probably more. All the rules about what you should do with your hands and this and that.
Yeah.
It's more about what do you do, and then work out how it works best for you. I think that's the number one. It's fundamental because. Yes, we talk about this is a positive position and you shouldn't do this or whatever, but
yes.
So what happens is someone who's cramming to do a presentation, get the words right, get the presentation. If you've got images or get that backwards, get that. That's the key thing. Don't worry about what your hands do, because the more you do it, the more you reduce it down.
Yeah. Yep.
That so the steps are: I'm doing it. And I missed a step. Write down, and I say write down because your brain still, I don't know if it's going to be in the next generation for your kids, but writing is different parts of your brain than typing on a computer.
Yep.
So I draw, I write notes. I could show you later, but I write, and so I will think about what are the things I need to make sure I cover, even just as the MC, which is different from being the host. I actually messed up with that. We were talking keynotes, but they're the things. If you know the stuff, and you know the flow, if you know the program, and then I know I talk a lot, but less is more. When I'm on the stage, I won't go on forever. I don't just do it, because in the book it says you should do this or you should do what's right.
Yeah.
You come with I talk about Felix the cat, you come with a big bag of tricks or what you're going to say, but it's about less is more.
Yeah.
But what happens in the day, you might need to react about something.
Yes.
And you might have to come on stage quickly because something's happened. Or the power, I was doing something and the power in rehearsal, the whole power stopped. Now, it didn't happen during the show, but there was no power for 5 minutes. So I'm now thinking in my head, now if this happens for the rest of the night, I made sure that I had my torch on my phone in my pocket. So if I had to, I could at least read what my note said. I could yell loudly. It was only for 200 people or thereabouts. And then you have to go with the flow, because what happens, I think, often are so pre-set in what they'll say and how they'll do it. You need to really throw that away. Here are the 5 points I could say.
Yep.
But when I'm introducing that person, it's who are they, why are they important to us, and they're going to be talking about away they go. Yeah. Because otherwise people read out and they started, at the boy magician at 12 and it just goes on and going, it's 5 minutes. But but also you need to gain attention. And that's I think it's a fundamental example in a room. It only comes through experience. And I talk about, you just have to own the room, but you just have to own the room. Yeah. But the first time it's hard. The second time, the third, the fourth. Yeah. I'll wait. I need to get your attention, everybody. Please, I need your attention, please. Yes. Thank you. Just here for a second. Won't take long. Yeah. Now we're nearly at maybe we're at 90% quiet. We'll go, because the next person coming on, we need to have absolute quiet for. Yeah. So set the tone.
Do you ever have, as a seasoned MC and host, do you ever have imposter syndrome before you get on stage anymore, or ever?
I don't think I do, but you always want to do a good job. And this is something I learned maybe only 10, maybe 15 years ago. And this is not doing a live gig. I was filming for the TAC. I did a lot of work for the TAC. And we were filming the Barry Sheehan ride that would ride from wherever it was to the island. And we were talking about motorcycle safety. And we're just taking vox pops. And we happened upon, I think he was a former mayor of the region in Gippsland. And he was a 40-year motorbike rider, so he's an older man. He said, all I do is I visualise leaving the gates and I visualise coming home, and then on the road I'm vigilant the whole time. And it really hit me. So I honestly, we've read lots about how to visualise and do things, but whether it's an event as an MC or whether it's a big event that we've got on for one day, or we've only got, they're mega days, I just visualise the finish of it. And I visualise it'll be good, I'll be okay, everyone will be happy.
Just a quick one, just slightly over time, you start wrapping up the next minute or two, amazing.
Sure.
Yeah.
Do you want me to go back on that point?
Yes, please.
Yeah, so the idea of, visualising, and to me that's a really important thing. And visualising comes through planning, and that's what I do. So I say, we're going to have a great night tonight. I'm going to go out there. We'll do a good job. I'll do the Superman pose.
Yes, I love that one.
And then go.
Yeah.
And then use that energy that is there. Use that energy that you are nervous about to go. Yeah. And that gets you to stage.
Yeah. Brilliant. All right. So thank you so much, Andrew, for such an insightful conversation. I feel like you have stories that can go on for days.
Sorry. Sorry.
No, which I've had the privilege of listening throughout working together of all these years. One final advice that you can share to our listener who perhaps is wanting to get into the events, entertainment, MC, host industry. in today's market. And you've obviously seen all the changes over the years. What's that one piece of advice that you can give them to make a start in their career?
I reckon it's the same as what you'd say when people come to you to say, we want to get into events. Get in anywhere you can. Offer your services at your local sports club, at the kindergarten, at the local high school, whatever you can do to say, I've got experience. And I know people don't like getting paid for nothing now, but I think that's so important, because often the difference between someone who's highly experienced and someone who's not, but who thinks they should charge what the experienced person does, sometimes gets everybody out of kilter.
Yep.
And just to do it as much as you can, in whatever way you can. You know, spruiking in shopping centres, hosting the local fashion parade for the charity, do all that. Same with events, right? Is that what you'd say to someone who said, look, I'm a student, I need to get more experience?
Absolutely. We always talk about volunteering.
Volunteering, like donating your time to charities, all those type of things are really important steps to get experience first.
Yeah.
Because
you know,
Opens up the network.
You just don't know what you haven't experienced yet until it happens.
And you don't know. But the other thing is, if you do it, you then, and also watch. You know, I've watched people who just inspired me. I've watched other people who thought I would never do that, but you learn from everybody. Take notes. Give yourself a dial. Watch the news. Watch the newsreader. Watch the quiz show person. You know, there's anything that gives you an idea about what you should do. What do you like? What don't you like? Well, I could do that. Try it.
Yep. Love it.
And then kind of do what whoever is the director of the stage, do what they ask you to do.
Yes. Always listen.
Listen to the producer.
Yeah. Follow the run sheet.
Follow the run. Oh,
Yes.
Yeah. Great story.
That is all that we have time for today. Thank you so much, Andrew, for joining us.
Jules, Vic, what a pleasure.